A lot of rubbish, glass, all sorts of shit in there. Loads of stinging nettle roots and bramble roots, pretty fibrous, so you can't just shovel through it. I don't think my back would last long if I had to do that regularly, but I think I'm about halfway, so I'm going to come back tomorrow and sort the rest out. I've been digging this trench for a bit more, and I'm a bit fed up with it now. So you can see from my dirt moustache that I kind of want to try something else. Well, I'm going to continue doing it. It's just that I've been doing it I did it for about an hour or so. Got a fair way down it, and it's certainly more of a trench than a ditch, and it is flowing out. So it's starting to clear the plot, and then it sort of takes an L up there. And I'm hoping that I've taken a W. So what I'm thinking is that this area, this is the closest bit to being ready. So it's already dry, it's fairly easy to access. So what I'm going to do is try and get that plastic sheet that is buried in probably a few tons of soil, and just get that out so that the ground will drain properly. And where I've been building up the sides of the ditch, I'm going to start levelling them into the middle, because it's probably difficult to really appreciate, unless I were to go and walk on it for you, how much the levels change. So once I move this into here a little bit, move that all in, level this out, then I have a space that is almost ready for growing on. Now, I was a little bit concerned that I saw loads of it when I started peeling this back, thinking that I might have some ground that was ready to plant in. But there's absolutely loads of this, which is Equisetum arvense, or field horsehair, mare's tail, horsetails, not mare's tails. You can see the other part of the the ditch and the water is actually flowing down it. This is starting to clear a little bit, but you can see there's still an awful lot of water further around. So I'm just going to try and clear a bit of this, shovel off where I need to, and open up that bit of ground so I can rake it out and get it somewhere near half decent for level, because then I feel like that's a little bit of a win in that there's things that I want to start growing now, because it's now coming towards the end of March and I could even make some sort of you know, those hoop houses, the small polytunnels, so that I could get some stuff in the ground fairly soon and start growing things while I work on clearing the rest of the plot and sorting out all the problems. Because some people mentioned it in the last video and I thought it was a really useful point, which is that you might be completely fed up if you've never had any successes if you just keep working on trying to go through it systematically like it was a building job or something. So I am going to take that advice on board and get a part of the plot ready that is almost, or the closest to being ready first, before I start working backwards into the rest of the plot. Getting there. Just getting these fibrous stinging nettle roots out and loads of bramble roots, clearing it off. My fear is that it's going to end up being something that I clear all this off and then there's so many weeds in all the stuff that I've turned over, and I've probably cut up loads of weed roots, but there's a massive sheet of plastic under there, so what else am I supposed to do? So you see, Mohammed?
That's it, yeah. I'm fasting, you see, I just go for a walk anyway. I'm just all the time.
Yeah, it's hard.
No.
Hard when you're fasting.
That's it, yeah.
A number of other plot holders have mentioned to me that I should try and get hold of another plot, but as for now, I haven't been offered one. I'm still pretty mindful of the sunk cost fallacy, which is just because I've done work on this plot doesn't mean that I shouldn't move to a plot that is further ahead than this one. But one of the things that I noticed when I watched back through this video is the feeling that I had when I was there, and it was relating to a comment that somebody left, but I just can't find it anymore. I think it might have been deleted, where they said, having some meaningful and useful work to do is a beautiful thing. And that really stuck with me, because I listened to this video and I can hear the birds singing, and I can see that I'm doing something to actually make the part of the earth that I'm in slightly better. And I think that just makes it worth it. And if you're somebody who's doing a similar sort of job, I hope that just sharing that rationalisation that I had for myself is helpful for anybody else that is trying to motivate themselves to do a fairly colossal clean-up of an allotment or a bit of land that you've got hold of that has been a bit trashy.
So although it doesn't look like a lot, that's about 20 square metres, which is a little bit less than a tenth of the plot, which then it makes it bite-sized chunks. 10 more times that I do this and I'd have the whole plot done. Realistically, some of the other parts are a little bit harder, but it feels a lot more manageable now that I've done this bit.
Right, that's enough. Loads of glass, bag full of rubbish. Even though that is clearly not ready to just plant in, it looks a whole lot better. So I think that's worth celebrating. It's still going to need some work because it's basically just like a well-prepared weed bed now with loads and loads of weed roots that were underneath the plastic, and there would have been absolutely loads of seeds in all of the stuff that was on top of the plastic, but I had to get the plastic out. I think no dig, frankly, is a little bit overrated and slightly dishonest in that you do always have to disturb the soil, and it's only relevant if you've already got some reasonable soil anyway. So if you've got loads of rubbish and stuff that actually needs to be physically removed, or you've got the earth that's really compacted, there really isn't any problem with digging at all. The idea behind it, I think, is honourable, which is that we probably dig far too much. Digging something every single year is a bit excessive, but initially digging, I think, is generally quite a good idea if something is compacted or hasn't had air introduced to it for a long time. Getting rid of the weeds, I don't really want to just cover it again with plastic because then I'll be waiting a long time. I might do that with some of the sections further along once they dry out, if I clear them and then cover them in plastic for a year so that it reduces the number of weed, or allows weeds to germinate and then die as they germinate because they can't get any light. So I might try that in some of the other areas that I'm not so urgently trying to get ready for this year. But this small area, I know that then I can put in the extra effort that's required for doing any manual removal of weeds so that I can get it ready and potentially even plant into some of it. I may do a section that's no dig by putting down some cardboard and then putting some compost on top of it, because then I could actually start growing stuff immediately. The stuff that I've got ready to go in the ground, like some onion seedlings, I've got some broad beans and some peas, all of which would be fine to go in the ground because none of them are particularly sensitive to the cold. So I'd like to get those going and make use of the increasing day length so that they can get off to a good start. Anyway, it was very good advice to suggest just getting one section of the garden ready. If you were to go through it systematically like it was a building job, for instance, and you just tried to do it in the most efficient way possible using the labour, you would probably lose sight of the fact that you have to maintain your motivation for the length of that. So you could end up digging trenches for 3 to 4 weeks, but you haven't actually made any progress with anything you actually want from the plot. And seeing as it's a hobby, why would you punish yourself in that way?